If you read the water purifiers, have the end customers and your clients ever pointed out to you that the water has a bad smell? Here's what you can tell them, and here's what you can do for them. I am Fabio Tessi from Onnwater, and in this video I want to reveal to you some insights you can use, some arguments you can address if you read the water purifiers to end customers, and some of your clients point out that the water has a bad smell. But why is it important for you to be able to provide these answers to your end customers? Well, it's simple, because if your end customers perceive that the water at home, the tap water, has a bad smell, they obviously tend to worry immediately, concerned about their health. Okay, so at this moment, when they refer to a water expert, a water treatment expert like your company might be, and if you can provide these answers to your customers, if your sales agents, if your salespeople can provide these answers to your customers, you will obviously be perceived as an expert. You will make a great impression in front of your customers, and they will be much more inclined to choose your brand and recommend your brand to others, because they will understand that you are an expert and that you know what you are talking about. Let's start by listing the most common water odors and some responses, some arguments that you can indeed use to tell your customers. Chlorine or bleach smell. This is one of the most classic odors that your end customers might complain about. Or regarding water. Well, this is also the simplest case, because it means in this case that the water has been treated with indeed chemical elements like chlorine and others to disinfect it. So it's probably, let's say, the fault of the water supply system, as the network water treated with these chemical elements then carries this odor to the tap or the water dispenser. Obviously, it's clear here that you understand that chlorine is added precisely to protect the water, right? So it's not correct to say that the water is contaminated by chlorine, but rather when the water undergoes this process and passes through, it gets mixed with chlorine. Sometimes excess traces remain that cause this odor in the end. But don't say that the water is contaminated by chlorine, because chlorine is used precisely to decontaminate the water, okay? So it's merely a matter of excess traces remaining in the water that cause an odor. So in this case, what can you propose to your end customers to eliminate this chlorine odor? Well, the simplest and most effective solution is the classic activated carbon filter. It's a sufficient filter to eliminate the chlorine odor in the water, thus making your customer happy and proud to recommend your brand to others because you solved their problem. Smell of rotten eggs or sulfur. If your customer complains about a smell of rotten eggs or sulfur, it's most likely because the water they are currently drinking is water. So their water system is definitely based on, so how can you explain it to them scientifically? Well, simply put, this smell of rotten eggs or sulfur is caused by hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide forms naturally in some soils and is not dangerous to health. However, it can obviously be unpleasant in terms of smell. It's not inviting when we talk about drinking water. So what can you offer your clients to solve this problem? Well, in this case, an activated carbon filter can also be a solution, but obviously an even more effective solution could be a reverse osmosis system, because it requires a more intensive, higher level treatment to eliminate this type of odor. So either a good activated carbon filter or a reverse osmosis system. Smell of mold, earth, or algae. So if your end clients complain about a smell of earth, mold, or algae, this odor probably comes from tannins. Tannins are particles that come from decomposing leaves or plants, so organic particles, and are often found in conjunction with lake water or well water, okay? So you know that tannins, even here, are not toxic to humans, but they are obviously not pleasant when associated with the drinking water we have in our homes. One of the visual ways to identify if the drinking water contains tannins is the color. If your client, in addition to complaining about the smell, tells you that the water has a yellowish color, it is very likely due to tannins. So what solution can you propose to your clients? Well, in this case, ultrafiltration is the ideal filter. Obviously, anything involving reverse osmosis as well, but primarily an ultrafiltration filter, can be an excellent solution. There are also filters specifically dedicated to tannins. So if You can obtain filters dedicated to tannins. That's perfect. But if that's not possible, ultrafiltration will make your client more than satisfied and leave a great impression. Metallic or rusty smell. So if your end customers complain about a metallic and rusty smell, it's because the water contains a high concentration of iron or manganese. Okay? So in this case, there are two types of metals, but where do they come from? Well, they can come either from the nature of the water itself, depending on the geographical area we are talking about, or from the pipes that carry the water from the city's or country's water system to the house. So what solutions can you propose? Well, there are specific filters for iron, but even in this case, reverse osmosis is a type of filtration that can block this odor, thus these substances in the water, so that your client can be at ease and no longer smell metallic odors. Also, because often waters with, let's say, this metallic odor, which have a high concentration of iron or manganese, are noticeable because they tend to stain clothes as their color. Let's say, when in contact with clothes or other materials, tends to stain. Therefore, this can be another argument you can present to your clients to help them understand if the water in their home contains, indeed, metals of this type. Fish or ammonia odor. Well, there are often waters that have a fishy or ammonia smell, and your end clients might notice it. In this case, it's important for you to explain to them that this odor comes from waters mainly associated with lakes or rivers where algae or other natural organic compounds are already present in the water, which indeed release this odor that can be quite bothersome if associated with drinking water. So what can you offer your end customers to make them happy and eliminate this bothersome odor? Well, here the solution is a combined one, because the best suggested solution is a good activated carbon filter combined with an ultrafiltration filter. So this combination of filters is so powerful that in 9 out of 10 cases, or even more, it guarantees the elimination of this odor. So it makes your customers happy, they see you as a professional, and they will be much more likely to recommend you to others, increasingly leading to your brand dominating your market. Chemical odor. So if your customers have ever pointed out that the water tastes like chemicals or has a chemical smell, well, this can be due to the presence of solvents or hydrocarbons in the water. But why does this happen? This happens especially for your customers who might, let's say, source their water from wells. If the well from which they draw water to bring into the house is in conjunction with or near industrial areas, often these industrial areas release solvents, hydrocarbons, or chemicals into the groundwater, which then reach the aquifers, come from the well, and generate this odor. So what is the solution here? The best thing you can do for your clients is to install a reverse osmosis system. This way you can be sure that these contaminants, these odors, are completely kept out, and thus your client can enjoy pure and odorless water. If you rent water purifiers to end customers and found this video useful, I invite you to click the button below, subscribe to the Onnwater YouTube page, and also click the bell button to receive instant notifications every time new videos are released. This way you can be among the first to watch them, take the insights that interest you, and use them with your end customers to make a great impression. See you in the next video.